2, 1. Hey, what is up? Welcome to another edition of On the Grill. Mike Iversell, David Mitchell. You already saw our videos for preparation. Well, 2 of us did videos for preparation. We're going to talk to the other guy about what he did because he just, I obviously
Nobody
he didn't have the
tells
time
me.
to do it.
Nobody told me about the videos. Nobody told me to bring a blanket either. I ain't like, jeez. But I'm good. I don't need a blanket. I'm good out
It's
here.
a little chilly, right?
These guys,
It's
they're
a little
old.
chilly.
Can we talk about that? It was 80 degrees 2 days ago.
The young guy and the old men. Perfect. That's what
I'm
it is
blaming,
here.
I'm blaming my sunburn. It's made me a little cold. Though this is a weighted blanket, I'm nice and calm right now. It's very good.
Blanky works. I don't care what anybody says. Blanky is good. So what we did today, you guys already saw the video of preparation. Let's start with Mike's wings. Mike, tell everybody what you did with the wings.
I got up this morning about 2 hours before I was going to put them on the smoke. I just sprinkled on pretty liberally the jerk seasoning, the Crave jerk seasoning I got off Amazon. I had the smoker sitting there at 225. Put them on there for an hour and a half. Once they were done, wrapped them in foil, ran over here, popped them on your grill, and I crisped them up nice and crisp. Got them back to temperature. I was worried that they were going to dry out. I don't think they were dried out.
No, they weren't. That was our appetizer. Like literally, we set it up. Wings were our appetizers. You know, if you're going to have a side, have your side be meat. That's the way it is. I think that's the smart thing. Mitchell, all jokes aside, we bust on Dave. The chicken that you made was unbelievable. That was outstanding. Tell everybody what you did.
Well, I have to because I didn't make a video because I wasn't told to make a video. Okay, and then you bust me for that. Marinated him yesterday, picked up some jerk marinade, and then some jerk seasoning on top of that. And then it just became a couple extra things. Some of that mango scotch bonnet sauce there from the Kroger that I love is my go-to. And then added some little barbecue sauce this morning with some pineapple ginger rum sauce to throw that on there that you guys noticed.
And that was a nice smiley face.
That was the smile. That was the smile. I did send him a picture. That was the Scotch bonnet sauce,
All right,
actually,
all right,
of the
okay.
smiley face with the marinade, and did that for about 4 or 5 p.m. yesterday, and then brought him over today.
It was awesome. The thing that we noticed right away was it caramelized, and there was like that sweet.
That whatever the sugar was in there caramelized perfectly.
It was well done.
Yes.
Well, and it looked delicious. You know what? I'm gonna have to put a picture because that's the type of guy you are. You're such a nice person with a smiley face and everything.
I did say
I can't even keep a straight face
You
saying
didn't
it.
comment on it. I'm like, look, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to come today. Happy to be part of this.
We unwrapped it to put it on the grill, and there's that smiley face just right there.
I was happy to
It was
be here.
screaming Mitchell. It was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. He's such a nice guy. He really is. Just always full of nice, kind words for me in particular. No doubt about that. But anyway, so I did. You saw the video. I did the burgers. You put a little bit of that sauce in there, which is awesome. I recommended it in the video that you saw earlier. You can go with Eaton's. We all use the same kind of Kroger brand.
We all had the same bottom.
Yeah, the
It's the
same.
only thing around.
Yeah, it really is the only thing around. That can add to it. As I mentioned in my video, I like to put some blackened in the mix, and then on top of the burger as well, on top of the cheese. So when the cheese melts, kind of spreads a little extra seasoning around and everything. Nothing was too kick in the face, right? Was there
No.
anything that was just a little too much for you guys, or was
No.
it?
Not at all.
No, I think the burgers were by far the spiciest of everything, especially with the added blackening on top of the cheese. But as you said last show, it's about the flavor of the meat. It's not about the seasoning you put on. You don't want to be punched in the mouth, I think you said.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. I can't stress to you enough, like how much we all look forward to when this is over. Like literally sitting here and setting aside hours of our day. This is a couple hours where some old friends get together, but the fun part is setting aside the hours of the day where we can kind of work shoulder to shoulder and show everybody, like literally A to Z, what we're going to barbecue. So when this thing ends, I promise we're going to do that. You're invited, I'm telling you now, so you don't say I wasn't invited, and we want you to be
What?
part of every step along the way.
Okay, so make videos is what you're telling me.
Well, we'll
There's
make a
always
video
going to be
together.
something.
That's
There's always going to be something. We can't let you in on everything. We can't let you in on everything.
Next week I'll show up and you'll be like, well, wait, did you go to the store and make a video of what you bought? Like, no, I didn't
Did you
do
go to
it.
the store for your friend? But I got.
I did go to the store for my friend today.
Wait,
I did
wait.
stop at the store for my friend. My teenage friend. I said, what are we in high
Oh,
school?
geez. I do have to say though, when the time is right, and we can get the coverage of us on the grill.
Yes.
I mean, could you imagine it today when that flame was about 10 feet high
Oh,
over
is
your
that beautiful?
burger?
Oh, is that
And
beautiful?
the best thing about it is, if you don't know what you're doing, you're ripping the meat off the grill because you're afraid of that flame. What did we do? We walked away. We came inside. We had a conversation.
They put
I look
blankets
out.
on.
I put blankets
They
on.
put a blanket.
Look out the window. The flame's still going. We came out. The meat's fine.
Embrace
but
the
you guys
flame.
being able to see that's going to be unbelievable.
Embrace the flame. You have to. I mean, you absolutely have to embrace the flame. Embrace Blanky too. On a cold day like this, just embrace Blanky. Blanky's your friend.
Weighted blanket.
All right, now I have to tell everybody. Dave
Wait
was
till you can I put the B? Like, wait, should we put the B next to you?
Dave.
Like,
Dave
the B.
for Blanky.
Yeah, wait, I gotta go off camera. This is brought to you by the letter B. Yeah.
Dave was very kind. He brought us each a bottle of Scotch Bonnet. He was very kind. And then he picked me up some dip. So that's what the
Oh,
joke
great.
was.
Yeah.
He picked me up some dip. That was what the joke was. And Dave, it was your
I
first
do
time
not-
you ever bought tobacco.
It was not a good habit. No, I'm not for it. I'm not. But when your buddy calls and says, "Hey, on the way over, could you do me?" Yeah, I helped out. But like,
What's up? What are you going to do?
He's a nice
I
human
helped
being.
out my teenage friend. Back in high school. Felt like I was in high school. Hey, you're on your way over. Yeah.
Do you remember your prom?
I did like that.
Mom's not home. Could you? All right, back to the
now
B.
you're going down.
All right, today's show is brought to you by the letter B. So,
Blanky.
listen. Also, Joe Biden begins with a
Oh no!
B. Boy, this fell apart. So, listen. One of the things that we wanted to talk about today, if you did not know this, I said this last week. Dave Mitchell, of course, the head coach at Livonia Stevenson. This guy, Mike Iveso, was an assistant coach on back-to-back high school championship teams with Grosse Pointe North.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Scott Locke as
Scott
the head
Locke,
coach,
the
running
guy
the
that we've
show
known
there.
for a while.
Yep, I was lucky
Scott
enough.
Locke reference. There
Yeah,
you go.
he,
Shout out to Scott Locke.
Absolutely.
And
What's up, Locke?
I was lucky enough that he let me sit on the defensive side of that bench for quite a number of years. I was there till my kids started playing hockey. And the joke was that he had me on the defensive side of the bench. I'd never seen the defensive side of the puck in my life. But yet there I was. State championship game, sitting there trying to tell a defensive player. I didn't know what my side of the blue line was. But thank you, Scott.
That's great. One of the things that we wanted to talk about, we're going to pick different topics. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you know our backgrounds. We're all guys that love the game of hockey. Hockey guys have worked in hockey, etc., etc. But you guys obviously have coached it. Dave, I want to start with you. This is something that we teased last week, but when you're looking at a player, when you're evaluating a player, what jumps out to you? What are you looking for?
Gosh, I mean a number of things, right? It's all the little intangibles. I think first and foremost, their level of compete.
Mm-hmm.
The level of compete, their
Yep.
give a care meter. I don't know what you say. How much they care about what they're doing. Do they play with a sense of urgency? Are they passionate about what they're doing? Is there effort? Is it off the charts, or is it just another day to them? So like you really look at that first, and then obviously the skating and all the different hockey type things that come into play. But you really look at like how driven they are to succeed, and because ultimately it's one-on-one battles all over the ice. They're whether or not you're a good teammate. So really, it's that level of compete, that level of urgency, that level of really do they want to be there and give everything they have at that moment.
I agree 100%, and we're almost on the same page here. The one thing that I teased about was
Yeah, wait for that one thing.
It's mindset, and it's that mindset right
Yes.
there. It is that mindset of And I was thinking of when it was brought to us as, what do you look for in a great player, right? And it's that mindset of, I'm good, but I want to be better. I'm going to compete, like you said. And when I get out there, I just want to crush you. I'm going to just destroy you. I'm going to beat you. If I scored 5 more points than you this year, next year I'm scoring 20 more points. And it gets into that mindset has to drive a work ethic. That it's not what I do in a game. It's what I do in practice. It's what I do off the ice, especially what I do in the off season. And those things, Dave, I don't know about you, but when I was coaching, what would drive me crazy is half-speed practices.
Oh,
When the kids are out there and they're
for
doing
sure.
half-speed stuff, and it's not, we'd be screaming game speed. And the one memory I have of when I was coaching this guy would drive him crazy. He'd stop a practice. Would be a one-on-one or a battle drill with a puck. The puck goes out of the zone, and they go down the corner and get another puck.
Yeah.
He'd stop the practice and say, how many times are you playing in a game and there's 2 pucks on the ice? Never. Get on the blue line, we're skating.
Absolutely.
You have to go, you have to win that battle to get back into that. And if you want to watch what I'm talking about, the 3 guys I was talking on that video that I teased, I think they're the 3 of the 5 best NHL players. It's Sidney Crosby, who I think is the best player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's Nathan McKinnon, who I think is the best young player, and at any time on the ice, the best player on the ice, the best player in the NHL. And then the last one, Sean, the Rat, Marchand. Have you seen their training videos,
Mm-hmm.
the off-season?
Mm-hmm.
They train together, and they train at game speed. And that's why when Crosby gets the puck on the ice, you can't get the puck off him on the board there. You can't do it. It's not because he's doing these YouTube trick shots. He's not doing YouTube look at me half-speed drills. He's going against McKinnon, and he's going against Marchand in the offseason, full speed. Marchand slashing him, two-handing him as he's doing, and he's going crazy with it. I'm like, that to me, it's all of it. You know, you have that mindset, the work ethic, and it all comes out, and you have great players. And I know, Dave, that's probably what you look for when you have players.
Absolutely. All that, but I think it's going to be real interesting coming out of this, because now it's going to be how much does that individual player want it. Like they were just talking, the Lions are talking. Teams are going to get ahead or behind. Players are going to get ahead behind because they can't train like that.
Yep.
They have to train themselves now. There's no because my favorite question in practice was, is that as hard as you could go? Like I just simply ask, is that as hard as you could skate? Well, no. Well, okay. Well, what are we doing here?
Right.
Why are we here? Like it's going to be interested in our whether they're high school, younger, older, junior level, college level. How hard are they training? Are they training at game speed? Are they putting themselves under duress and pressure? That the best drills, that's what they do during practice. You put pressure on them, and are they doing that to develop? We're going to find out a lot about what people are doing coming out of this.
Do you want to look good or do you want to get better? A lot of people out there are doing it half speed because they want to look good.
It's a
Look
YouTube
at me.
generation, yep.
It is. You are absolutely right, though. Watch our YouTube channel. We're not looking on YouTube, right? Or do you want to get better? Who's going to come out of this better? And it will be interesting because, like you said, Dave, everybody's quarantined. Everyone's in isolation. It's going to be a different start to the season.
Well, obviously grit and your mettle and how much you put into it is one thing. But, Dave, I think you bring up an excellent point. And I'll ask you here, what are you doing for your returning kids? You're also involved, Team Michigan, MDHL. That's obviously up in the air. But let's think about the 2020-2021 season for Livonia Stevenson. Obviously, you say goodbye to some seniors. Shout out to all the seniors out there. Seriously, props to you guys. Mike, I know you have a daughter that's a senior. Props to you. Remember this. Use this as fuel for the rest of your days as well. But Dave, what are you telling your players right now?
Well, I want to just pay props to the senior parents too, because you guys, senior parents, go through all this and their kids are ready to graduate. You're ready to do all that with them, so you're missing out on that. So props to the senior parents out there as well. What are we doing right now? Right now, we still do Zoom meetings. We have one tonight. We have a study check-in because our kids are still they're still doing their online learning. But then we have a Google. They all have a Google sheet and They have a doc that they fill out every day. We have them. They're using an app that they get workouts fed to them, and they're monitored through through this app. And then we have film sessions. We've had individual film sessions. We've done exit meetings. They're doing a book study. They each chose a book out of my library that I've collected over the years, that I literally dropped off at all their house. Like, they chose a book of all the books I had, and then they picked one and I dropped it off at their house. I wiped it down, did everything, put it on their front porch, and then they're reading a book, whether it's on the mental part of the game or whether it's different things. They're doing IntelliGym for they're training the mind. You know, Lavoni, like, the coach's job is to give them every single resources. Our kids have every resource right now to be successful, but it's going to be what we said. I told them their first skate, their first workout, their first practice, the first time we're together, we're going to know who's been doing what.
Absolutely. I've got to give you props, Dave, because me and Sean have talked for a little bit, and I've used your program as a reference, and you're giving a little bit of insight to why you're a powerhouse.
Oh,
Because there's teams out there, and you know, we've had this discussion, Dave, even last week, of programs. I bet you that coach hasn't even picked up a phone to talk to those kids.
Sure.
And they're sitting at home. They don't know what to do.
No,
they're
right.
doing their online learning. They're doing things like that. But as far as training, they need that leadership from the program, from the coaches,
For sure.
from the people that are on the ice with them and critiquing them. They need that. So again, kudos to you. I think that's a great job. I love it.
I bust on you a lot.
I'm just happy to be here.
No, I bust on. I bust.
We don't have to go there. So what do you see in
No,
a great player?
you know what?
What do
you know
look
what?
for
You know
in a
what?
great
We're going to
player?
go there.
How about that?
I bust on you a lot, but I want to say this publicly. As a friend of yours, I will vouch for you any day for the amount of work and care you have, and I want to say
Thank
that
you.
publicly.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That's the last time I'll ever be serious about him, because most of the time we really beat up on each other.
It's a little uncomfortable.
And it's kind of like when he dropped a kiss on me one interview not too long ago. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't quite know what to.
We heard about it for weeks.
And it wasn't me. It wasn't me. No, we're known to bust on each other a little bit. It's been that way for a long time. You know what? Honestly, when I was doing the OHL, and I've told you this before, I mean no disrespect, the most fun I've ever had was doing OHL games, because every one of those kids knew, every single one of those kids knew, if they weren't working, they were gone. Like, and
so what's the difference then?
Do you know what I
made the
think?
kids? What made the kids? Because this is something we're always trying to study as coaches. What's the difference between the kid you saw coming in, that would come in, you know, kind of equally, and one kid would make it and the other kid would not? What did you see?
Word of mouth was huge.
What do you mean by that?
I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. If you go to a place and you get a reputation, that reputation kind of carries itself, and it's very difficult to lose that. And I'm not going to mention any names, okay? But there's a guy, a very prominent player, that played for a prominent coach, and I'll tell you off the air because I don't want to disrespect anybody, that got a reputation, and simply put, he hasn't been able to shake that reputation, and it's kind of followed him around. And I'll tell you what, especially in crunch time in the playoffs, when they know there's nothing quite like, and I've seen this, whether it be at the Showcase down in Trenton, which is just an unbelievable high school hockey event if you haven't seen it. There is nothing like seeing every scout from the National Hockey League in a building on a particular night.
For sure.
There's nothing like that. And to me,
So
I
what
always
are they looking for? Because you've talked to them.
Well, I'll tell you in just a second. Honestly, one of the coolest things is that also reveals character, because to some guys, you so what? What does that mean? Who cares? There's 30 guys in here. Other guys are going. Every scout's in the building tonight. Every scout's in the building tonight. It depends what position you're talking about. I think with defensemen, especially young defensemen are a little longer to develop, right?
Sure.
Right.
A defenseman that sticks out. I will give you an example, because this is a positive. Drew Doughty. Drew Doughty was absolutely sick. Like, his last 2 years of junior, before his draft year, to play at that level at 16 and 17 years old was insane.
Right.
So the poise playing that position, that jumped out to everybody. It didn't surprise me at all that he ended up being a top 10 guy. A lot of it is your battle. There's a famous story. I think I told you this. I don't know if I told you this. When the Whalers won the OHL in 2007, they played a particular team that was loaded. Their top line was unbelievable. The biggest member on their top line is one of the most prominent National Hockey League players in the past decade. When they started to get their butts kicked in, he looked at a member of the other line. I kid you not. Did I ever tell you this? All right. He looked at him at a draw and he said, "Call the dogs off." And the kid on the Whalers looked at him and said, "What did you just say?" He said, "You heard me. Call the dogs off." And you know what proceeded to happen from there? They didn't call the dogs off. They went on him even harder. And that was funny. And I'll tell you what that player was back then and what he is today, he switched that narrative about him. There's no two ways about that. He completely switched that narrative about him. He was so supremely talented, he was going to end up being drafted highly anyway.
Sure.
And he was. But a lot of the things that people said about him 12 years ago, you don't hear people say that about him anymore. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you another example. Jared Bull played in the National Hockey League forever. Guys love that guy. You know why? What do you need me to do? Do you need me to go through that wall? Do you need me to go take that guy out and drop my mitts? Do you need me? What do you need me to do? Led by example on the ice, things like that. Character is so important today, especially when you're talking about a team investing in a player. Character
For sure.
reveals itself on the ice, and that's something that in talking to scouts, and I've had the privilege, and there's a lot of scouts out there, maybe even watching this. A lot of guys go back to that which you guys talked about, but it manifests itself in different ways at the OHL level. Of okay, what are you going to? How much sandpaper do you have? When you
Sandpaper is a term that scouts love,
When-
and
when-
they use that a lot.
when I need to take out the sandpaper and I need to scrape off what
100%.
happened, how much sandpaper are
They
you going
call
to
it
show me?
sandpaper. They say they play with FU. Like,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
play with
absolutely.
FU in their game.
Absolutely. You have to.
Absolutely.
Are you guys watching The Last Dance?
Yes.
Are you what?
Yes.
I will.
Love it.
It's going to take me a while, not being a basketball fan, but I know what I
So-
want to see out of it.
Well, here's what I can say, because now being this development guy, like I love watching other sports and take many things from other sports and some of the stuff Jordan did, and now that you have an insight to where his GM thought another player was better, he's like, okay, let me prove, like, let me take care of that. Like he went out and took care of that. Like he took care, the things that motivated him, or when they asked him if he had a gambling problem, he's like, I don't have a gambling problem. I got a competitive.
I've seen that T-shirt. I
like,
want that T-shirt.
It was, but you want to talk about a great, like, that's the player, like, the player where, you know what? And coaches are so scared of this moment that when you blow the whistle, that kid keeps going, or you have to blow the whistle and separate a couple kids.
Oh.
Like, that's
That's
the
what you're
moment
looking
you're
for.
looking
That
for.
is what you're
And
looking
everybody
for.
is so
Absolutely.
scared of that moment and scared of that. Oh, no, two kids went at it in practice.
Oh,
Like,
you
whoa.
You can't hit your own
We
teammate.
didn't-
You can't go
nailed it.
hard on your own teammate.
So quick back to the 2013 season, and I bet you this I knew we got it when Travis Harvey hit Dominic Lutz in practice and hit him, and Lutz got up and went right back after him, and the old me would have been like, oh my gosh, but that's how competitive those two
That's what
were.
it was.
And lo and
That's how
behold,
you get better.
Look at look
That
what
is how
happened.
you
And
get better.
and you have to go to
They
that
won
line.
the championship that year.
And that's why that taught me a lot. Those kids taught me a lot.
Absolutely.
And Lutz got up and said, you know what? I don't care practice or not. I ain't taking it.
Yeah, and
And
to get to the Michael Jordan thing, that when I'm talking mindset and the things, being a hockey guy, I use hockey
Sure.
examples. That's across all sports.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan was a huge assassin. He didn't want to beat you. He wanted to slaughter you.
wow. We got to talk later because you know how much basketball I use and hockey, moving without the ball, is the same as moving without
my
the
God.
puck. We can't
Off
move
the
without
puck.
the puck.
Oh my
Off
God.
the ball, you drive and dish. Guess what? You drive your power play, you attack the box, and then if they don't you move it. And so we use basketball references
And
a little bit.
you have to. That when you don't move off the puck, it absolutely makes the game so
Yep.
much easier for the other
Oh.
team. It's unbelievable.
We probably went too long
Again.
again.
Well, you start with the blankie and the
Well,
D's,
you know
okay?
we're gonna,
I'm
well,
just
what
saying,
they're not going to
this-
see is when I make a fire in the other room and we all cuddle near the fire. They're not going to see
That's
that.
it, all
That's-
right. That was the time. Dave Mitchell leaves. See you guys.
Until
It's
next
running
week,
already.
we'll figure out what we're going to eat next week. Until next week, for Dave Mitchell, who's already out the door, and Mike
Oh.
Iveso, I'm Sean Belegian. We'll see you on the grill.